I'm so excited that you are here today with us, Aaron. Welcome to the Red Chair.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what the goal really of today is to unpack a little bit about you, the Donner Group, and to share some things that you think will really help agents in Kansas City and people that are jumping into real estate.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm an open book, so whatever you want to
I'm
throw at me,
excited.
great.
Perfect. Well, Aaron, kind of take us back to the beginning. I know that you were doing some corporate sales. Tell us about that time, some of the things you learned then, and then how you evolved to get into real estate.
Yeah, so my background prior to real estate, I went to Kansas State. I grew up here in Overland Park, went to Kansas State for a dual degree in marketing and management, and then was hired on right out of college with Coca-Cola for a management training program, and they moved me to California. And so that's where my sales career started. And quickly I pivoted out of that into the medical device industry. And I spent most of my career prior to real estate in the medical device industry. It was a great job, great pay, great benefits, very intense, very high burnout, like real estate, high turnover. And I had worked my way up into the latest company I was with into management. And so there were so many things I learned. If I would have gone from college to real estate, I don't think we would have had the success that we've had.
Sure.
With me not having that corporate. Some of those things that I pull from that, a lot of it is, of course, work ethic, but accountability and drive and passion and asking for what you want.
Yeah.
Most people don't do that.
You're absolutely right.
And if you want something, you got to go after it and you got to ask for it. I tell my son this all the time that we talk about dating. I'm like, hey, if you want to date someone, you got to ask first, And the only reason I met my wife is because I saw a random friend in the parking lot when I'd moved back here from California, and I asked her, hey, do you have any single friends? And if I wouldn't have asked her, I wouldn't have met my wife. So asking for what you want, accountability and consistency and systems. I mean, being really, really dialed in to your calendar, your schedule, your daily task, your weekly task, your monthly task. And then finding the biggest probably, and I'm throwing out a lot because there's so much I learned in the corporate world, is business planning and having a plan. And I tell people all the time, a goal without a plan is a dream.
That's good.
And I don't know where I got that. I've been saying it for 20 years. My kids are sick of me saying it, but it's so true. You don't have a plan, your goal's meaningless. And so that's probably the biggest thing I learned from that.
Well, it sounds like you learned some huge life lessons in the corporate world.
For sure.
What was it for you? You're like, you know what? It's time to maybe pivot, or what was maybe that unrest or that friction that made you say, I think it's time to do something different?
Yeah. So I met my wife when I was 25 and we got married at 27. And I told her before we got engaged, I said, hey, just so you know, and I was in the medical device industry at that point and living a very good lifestyle at 26 years old. And I said, just so you know, I see where this is going with you and I, but I want you to know that I won't be in this position for the rest of my career. I will start my own business someday. I don't know what it's going to be. I may be mowing lawns. I may be doing real estate. I don't know what it's going to be, but I need you to know that if you go on this journey with me, I am going to walk away from this corporate world, because I knew at an early age it wasn't for me. It was good and it was great at the time, but I knew I wanted something more. And so I told her that before we got engaged, and she agreed, fortunately, and understood that. And then in February 2014, I had just turned 39, and I was at a point in my career where I could have kept moving and moving up in the corporate world. I felt like I was at a crossroads. I was staring down 40, and I just said to her that I don't want to, next thing I know, I'm going to be staring down 50. And I don't want to get to that point and never have tried what I told you I was going to do when I was 26. And that's starting my own business. I said, I think now's the time. And 3 young kids at home.
Yeah.
My wife stayed home. It was the time, but a lot of people would look at me and think I was crazy, including my father-in-law. And so when I was 39, and I knew in February, I just said, that's it. I've toyed with real estate for a long time. I've searched and searched at franchises and all these different companies to start on my own. Nothing had happened, and I worried if I just continued doing that, nothing was gonna happen. So I made up my mind in February 2014. In 1 year from that day, I'm gonna walk away. And so we immediately made a plan, back then, and I sold. So that was the first pivot. There's been a lot of pivots,
Yeah.
but we had a lake house and a boat and jet skis, all the things that I loved, and I worked so hard to get those things. And, it is a passion of mine is the water. And, I sold my cabin. I sold my boat. I'll never forget standing on my dock. I will never forget that moment standing on the dock, watching the dealer drive off with my boat. It was my boat that I always wanted, and they drove off with it. And then another dealer came and took our jet skis.
Oh,
Then we sold the dock, and then we piece by piece, we sold everything. And it was hard, but I knew I wasn't turning back. I'd made my mind up at that point, we were going forward. And, so I sold it all, and the reason I sold it all is because I didn't if I was going to succeed or fail, I didn't especially fail, I didn't want it to be because of money.
yeah.
So we sold all that, paid off all of our house, all of our debt, and I wanted to go in with a cushion.
Yeah.
And I was
Kind
all
of a
in.
clean slate.
And that to me was we're all in. Like if I'm selling
Yep.
some of my other than my family, my
We didn't burn the
prize
boat, we
things.
sold the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I knew as it was going off, I kept telling myself in my mind as all that was being sold, we will have it back someday. Well, and it'll be right and it'll feel right. Right now I have it and it doesn't feel right because I'm not happy.
Mm.
And I'm not going to be happy until I make that move. And so 1 year later, March 31st of 2015 was when I left my corporate paycheck.
Wow.
So yeah, it was, I sat down with our VP of sales the few days before I was leaving, and he said to me, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" And he goes, "You have a family,
Mm.
you have no health care. You have, he goes, "Are you sure you know what you're doing? We want you to say, are you sure?" I said, I have to try. I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you'll never work in this industry again because no one will understand that move.
Wow.
And I said, I hear you and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you looking out for me, but I have to try.
Mm.
And if it doesn't work out, well, that's okay because I tried. And I would rather try and it not work out than not try and wonder what would have happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Aaron, where do you think that drive, that entrepreneurship, where did that come from? Like, take us back in time. Is that something you always knew you wanted to do and kind of a wrestle inside? I want to work for myself. I want to build my own thing.
My dad, so my drive really comes from my dad. He is a hard worker. He did not go to college, was in Vietnam, got out of Vietnam, started with a company with 7 people, and got lucky to get that opportunity. And he built the business with the owner to a fairly large company. And I saw what he did, and I saw what he put in was paying off. And he didn't own the company, but he helped build it. And I saw that it became a fairly large corporate position, and I saw the stress and what that took. And he was gone all the time,
Mm.
traveling all over the world and all over the country. And I saw that I was like, and he was tied to that. And if anything were to happen, and he lost that job, he didn't have a college degree. And not that that's everything at all.
Right.
But he didn't have a college degree. He had a family of 5, and my mom stayed home as well. And so there was a lot of stress and a lot of pressure there. And I was like, I saw that at an early age. I was like, I don't want that, And then I started a lawn business at 14,
Okay.
and all my other friends were working at the car wash or wherever.
Yeah.
And I was mowing lawns, making way more than them
Mm-hmm.
and setting my own schedule. And I just loved that freedom. I would play the game, so to speak, but I was never the type of person that would just follow along. So I've always had that. I don't know if you call it resistance, but just my wife calls it rebelling. I don't know. I mean, I just always had that. Not that there's anything wrong with corporate. It was great.
Sure.
But as long as I can remember, I've had that. But I went to college, and my parent, the thing to do was go to college, then you get a career, and then
Right.
you do this, and then you move up, and then you get the house in the suburbs, and then you do this. And so I was doing those things and living the Toyota minivan life.
Yeah.
And it just, there was always that itch in me to do something different.
Tell us, Aaron, why real estate? Where did that piece come in for you? Was that something you knew, in the corporate world or
Well, so I originally got my license and I was trying to remember. I think it was 2003 or 2004.
okay.
And then I let it expire. There's a realtor here in town that was a family friend that's still in business, been doing it for a long time, very successful. And I saw what he did, and I always liked real estate. Like, weirdly enough, I love the lake. And so at 14, 15, 16, I was looking in the Kansas City Star for lake property.
Hmm.
At like 14, I was looking at lake, and I just always loved that. But the bigger, as I started looking at, it really comes down to one word, and is opportunity.
Mm.
And that's what I saw in real estate. In the corporate world, I had a ceiling for how much I could make, and it was a very good living, and it set our family up very well. But it was never going to get much over that unless I kept moving and moving all over the country and moving up. And I didn't want to put my family through that. So I saw I wasn't satisfied at 39 years old, looking forward, thinking, this is it.
Mm.
This is it for the next 20 years till I retire. And I wasn't satisfied with that. I was not happy with that. And it's not all about money, but it was about the opportunity. And the opportunity, when I say opportunity, yes, in residential real estate, there's opportunity there. There's the investment side.
Yeah.
There's flips and rentals and building a team or not having a team. There's coaching. There's so many opportunities in real estate, and it's not going away.
Yeah.
And AI is not going to take over real estate, although that wasn't even a thought in my head, 12 years ago. But I think if I would sum it up, it's opportunity in real estate, and I saw that. And I looked at franchises, and I didn't want to be tied to, a franchise, and meaning like at Jimmy John's, we looked at Jimmy
Yeah.
John's, we looked at Mosquito Joe's, we looked at several different things. So, but I just kept coming back to real estate, and the low startup cost was enticing
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, it's unheard of to own a business and start one for $1,500,
Right.
you know?
I know. And so that's very enticing. Obviously I knew, and I knew in my heart that if I did the work that it was going to pay off. And I knew that. And I don't say that to be arrogant at all. I think that's how anything is in life. If who is it? Is it Nick Saban or somebody had like one quote in his office, and it's just do your job.
Mm.
And I knew if I did my job, we would be fine. And the times where we're low in real estate, it's because I'm not doing my job.
Mm.
I'm not doing the things that make us successful. So I knew we could make a run at it. And so that's what we
That's
did.
kind of where you went.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first 4 or 5 years in real estate for you, for the Donner Group, or Aaron at the time.
Yeah. It was always the Donner Group.
Yeah.
Even though it was just me, but I had a photographer.
Yep.
I had a stager. I had my wife, I had my kids who were stuffing all my parents and their friends were stuffing envelopes for us at the time. And
Wow.
they would get together and have dinner, and then they'd do all these envelopes and help us out with stuff. It went from the excitement in March 30th of 2015 of leaving the job to April 1st, like, oh, you know what? What have I done? To a lot of failures that first 3 months. And then there was a big pivot in June of 2015. So, and I've told this story many times here in the office, but June of 2015, I'd been on several listing appointments in my neighborhood, didn't get any of them. The only home I had sold was my parents' and one friend. I had sold their home, and that was it. And I was struggling. And you see money going out, nothing coming in. I started farming our neighborhood right away. And so in June of 2015, it's 15 to 16 miles when I walk our neighborhood. I still do it to this day. I do it 4 times a year, but I was doing it in June. My wife and kids were going to Arkansas to be with friends for the weekend. I couldn't go because I was doing open houses. And I was beat down. And I came home from walking the neighborhood. My family leaves. I'm sitting in our bedroom. There's a chair in there that I sit. That's where I have my morning routine. There's just a chair that my wife and I both sit in every day. And that's where I have my quiet time. And anyway, I'm sitting in that chair, and I lost it, and very emotional. And I'll never forget looking literally, it's like a movie, looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, what have I done?
Oh,
What I went from being so confident in where we were going to I had been defeated. And I felt that in my mind, and I've never felt that in my life ever. And I was never a big rah-rah. I was never a big motivational speaker, reading Tony Robbins type of person. Most of my positive energy would come from my faith, but I never did anything else to foster that. And the next morning, I woke up and I got on KWAP's Facebook page, and somebody had posted a video called Unbroken by Matsus M. He has several motivational videos. I don't know why, but I clicked on it, and I didn't even know what it was. I just saw the title, Unbroken.
yeah.
So I clicked on it and watched it. I thought about it a lot that night, and then the next morning I woke up and I watched it again, and I probably watched it 5 times that day. And then the next morning I watched it again, and for 30 days straight I watched that video,
Hmm.
and it started to shift my mind. And I went from, I don't know how else to say it, a beaten puppy to mad to, I got this. This is not going to defeat me.
Yeah.
I got this. And I have a family that's counting on me.
Yeah.
And I went from, it changed everything. It changed my mindset. I started getting running and getting healthy, and it changed everything. And I went into listing appointments instead of being timid and scared of the question of, how long have you been in the business, and losing listings because I felt like I crumbled when I got asked that question,
Mm.
to, no, this isn't right. I've used to negotiate multi-million-dollar contracts with large hospital systems across the country. I can handle a $250,000 house.
Yeah.
I can negotiate this for you. And so it changed how I went into everything.
Mm.
And then that grew from there. That was the early on. That was a really long-winded answer to the first 6 months
No, I mean,
business.
I think it's that defining moment, for you is just losing that listing and getting down on yourself and then having that here, this far and no more.
Yeah.
I am going to focus, I'm going to change me. And there's a watching you unpack yourself and then become a new improved version of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was very pivotal. I mean, it changed a lot. I mean, I started from there, started listening to everything from Tony Robbins to Joel Osteen to, you name it, anything pops I could get my hands on. I love music. That's my therapy, is
Mm.
music and exercise. But every time I was in the car, every time I was running, walking, whatever, I was listening to something positive. It was nonstop. And, uh, and I was even sharing it with people, "Hey, you gotta listen to this," friends that didn't even need it, or I thought maybe needed some encouragement. I would share, like, "This is really awesome." And I don't know, it changed a lot. And then we went from that to back on track to our business plan of, it was always my intention to build a team.
Okay.
And, so that was the first year. And then Jody, Forgy was my first hire. And that was, into the early 2016. And I remember meeting with her. She started working with us doing TC stuff. And then I was like, "You need to come work for us full time." Asked her if she would. And I was I was trying to do everything I can to convince her that, yes, you interview her, but I was doing everything I could to convince her to join us. I gave her my resume. I told her what I had done. I told her my financials. I was like, "Listen, we're going places.
Yeah.
You got to come. We're going places. And I think you can help us get there. And you need to join this journey with me." And then that started the growth of our team.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I love hearing kind of the humble beginnings and how you had to retool Aaron
Yeah.
to get to where you are now. So tell us, kind of give us a snapshot of the Donner Group. Obviously you had a little bumpy start, but you have grown the Donner Group into something incredible. Tell us a little bit about what your team looks like today.
Well, it's evolved. I mean, it's evolved. And I've evolved a lot, and made a lot of mistakes, and learned a lot and grown a lot. But it started out with her and I. Well, it started out with myself and my wife, and then Jody and I, and then we grew and, continue. I was learning and all about growth, and we grew. And at one point we had 11 people, and that was in 21, I think. Yeah, 21, 2020, 2021. As you grow, my ego got in the way a little bit, and I'm usually a very humble person, but as you grow, people would ask me, "How many people do you have on your team now?" Friends and neighbors or whatever. "How many people you have?" "Oh, we got 11 people." And I was measuring my success by how many people we had on the team.
Right.
And that was my focus. And it was wrong. It was 100% wrong. And I realized it in early 2022 that the team, and we've grown, we did 55 million, I think in 21 was our high point. And I realized that, so we got to go back to the basics. And this is the team about how many people we can have, or is it about what our profit is and what we're doing for our clients?
That's right.
I mean, which one is it?
Hmm.
And because it had become how many people we can get, and that made us look good. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of team members that aren't really making any money.
Yeah.
And so, but I was falling into that trap. And so we revamped it. And now there's 4 of us. Mike Mason, who's been with us since 2019. Ellie's been with us a couple years, and then my wife. And we've taken the last 3 years to take a step back, reevaluate what's important. How can we better love the people that we work with and people in general?
Yeah.
I do want to grow. I want to build it back up. That is our intention, but I don't want to do it fast like we did.
Yeah.
I want to do it slow and steady and the right way. And I feel like we've learned what the pitfalls are, and there's going to be plenty more, but I feel like we've learned what they are and the traps that I fell into, to now we can do it right.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, not holding people accountable, not holding myself accountable, not giving my team the attention they deserve. It was easy to miss that because in 2021, you could stumble into transactions and everybody on my team was making 6 figures. And so it doesn't come to light like it does when the market turns.
Yeah.
And so
a good market can hide a lot of mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's where we're at. We're at 4 right now. We hope to hire 1 or 2 next year. But one of the best things I'm proud of our team, and honestly, what we've accomplished, is the things that gets me the most excited is to see people on our team have their best years ever. And not only in business, but in their personal lives and in hitting the goal, buying the new house, or doing whatever, financially hitting their best years. And this year, everyone on our team is financially hit a record. And I love that.
That's
I love seeing that. And so we want to grow, but we want to grow slowly so that everybody has an opportunity to do what they want to do.
And I think when you're focused on the right things and you've set it up and you've learned, the hard way.
Yeah.
You can actually go back and show them here's the right way to do those things, and making sure you're doing your part too as a leader.
Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to accountability.
Yeah.
It was kind of free for all when we had the people that we had back in the day. In my corporate world, there was no gray area. It was accountability. I mean, it was like, here's the number, you missed it, you're fired. I mean, that was it. And I had to hire and fire a lot of people. And it was black and white. And I lost that when I got into real estate. And I don't know why. I think it's because when we were hiring in the medical device industry, it was people that were very tenured. And we hired a lot of ex-athletes, college athletes that were very disciplined. And so the expectations were very high. But why didn't I carry that over into real estate? It should be the same. And I should be holding people accountable. But I don't know if it's because I had my VP over me saying, hey, 2 quarters, you don't hit your numbers, you're out.
Sometimes when you're your own boss and there's no one over you per se,
Right.
It's easy to get your eye off the ball and forget those basics that made you so successful in the corporate world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that accountability, that coach, that whoever is in your world that's asking you the tough questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's, in that job, when I would have to fire people, it was never a surprise. They knew it was coming. We knew it. And I'm still friends with every person I fired. I still talk to. And I don't talk about firing loosely because it's a very emotional, it takes a toll on everybody.
Yeah.
But the people that we had to let go, it was because they weren't doing their job, like I mentioned earlier. And I would sit with them and beg them, like, please, what can I do? You got to hit these numbers or I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that in real estate. It's like, oh, you only want to do 2 transactions. Okay, that's fine. Oh, you didn't make any calls in the last year. Okay. I mean, that's all falls on me, And so a number of things. If I'm not holding myself accountable to doing my lead gen and they see me blowing it off, then, it starts there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, you had mentioned, I kind of want to go back in time a little bit. You had mentioned when you had made the shift from corporate to real estate.
Yeah.
And kind of what you were going through in that first couple of years. What was that like for you as a dad and as a husband? And kind of give us the behind the curtain look on the Donner family and what you guys were experiencing as a family during that time.
So when I stepped away, my son, I have 3 kids,
Mm.
2 boys and a girl. My son was, what, let's see, 13 at the time. And I wanted to shield as much from them as I could. It was good and bad because there was a lot of stress on me. I missed a lot of things, ashamedly, but I didn't have to fly every week. And I was flying every week in the corporate world.
Okay.
Every Monday I was on the 5:50 a.m. flight to Atlanta and then who knows where, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or wherever,
Yeah.
Louisiana, it didn't matter. And that was every single week, literally. I mean, I think I logged 250 nights one year in a hotel.
Mm.
And so I was home, but I wasn't present early on.
Yeah.
And I was missing things. And I remember doing a team meeting over in the other building when we were in the Tippins building.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat up in front of the whole class, and I think it was Lucas maybe that was interviewing me at the time. And I was pretty vulnerable. And I look back at that, I talked about the toll it had taken. My marriage is strong. We were strong there, but it had taken a toll of, I would come home at 7, 8 o'clock and go into my office and work till 10 or 11 o'clock. And I didn't shut it off.
Mm.
And I missed a lot of stuff. I don't regret that because I learned from that
Yeah.
and made some changes so that I wouldn't going forward. And I started coaching my kids' basketball teams and started doing things that I knew I would spend, taking them to sporting events and K-State football and whatever else. I felt like if I wasn't working, I was losing out on money and opportunity and paying the bills, and I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And, it's really easy to get sucked into that in real estate. It's very easy to get sucked in,
Yeah.
especially if you're really driven and you have heavy goals and or high goals and expectations for yourself. It's easy to put stuff on the side. And I started to go down that route, and we quickly had to change that. But it was after that meeting, I had some people from the office called me. They're like, "Hey, you have to take Sundays off, or you got to do something." Because I've seen too many people go down this path in
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to let that happen. And so that was a pivotal time, actually.
Mhm.
I hadn't talked about that for a long time, but yeah.
And it's another moment for you, it sounds like, where you were able to refocus your priorities and your values and go, "You know what? My family, it's that they're a glass ball. If I drop it, they shatter."
Yeah. Yeah. And time is so quick with kids at home. I mean, I don't,
Mhm.
how old's your daughter?
6 and 8
6 and
or
8.
9 now. Yeah.
2 girls.
Yep, 2
Yeah.
girls.
It goes by so fast. And everybody says that, but it does. I mean, my son is a sophomore in college, my oldest. And the relationship's different now. It's great. I love it because now we're having interactions every day. I'm sending him, he's in sending him motivational things and different things. And it's a coaching mentor type relationship versus a discipline and parent. It's more friend, but it goes so fast. And when my son was 13 to now, it's a blink of an eye, and you don't want to miss it. And it's easy to get caught up in that and miss it. And I just don't ever want to. I mean, we talk about, like, my wife and I talk about, we spent a little too much on maybe going to a Royals game one time, and we bought these tickets. I was like, they're $1,000. And it's like, she said to me, she goes, "You won't regret spending that money.
Yeah.
Oh, a year from now, you're not going to regret it because you're making a memory with your kids, and you're not going to regret that." And so I tried very intentionally to do that.
To make those moments matter the most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because you can't. I see so many people get in this business, and it eats you up.
Yeah, it
It can't.
absolutely can.
Yeah.
Well, is there any advice you would give to your younger self? Whether it's in your corporate years or in your first 7 to 8 years in real estate. What would you, if you could go back in time, what would you tell Aaron from those years?
A couple things. I mean, my word for next year is fun.
Mm.
Don't take things too serious. You're going to get through it. Don't get too bogged down or overwhelmed by the dips in real estate or in your career. You're going to get through it. And looking back, there's a Steve Jobs quote that I love.
Mm.
And he said, and he mentioned it at a commencement speech in 2005. I think it was at Stanford. He said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you
Yeah.
have to trust that the dots will eventually connect
Hmm.
going forward." And I may have messed up the last part of that, but you get the gist of it. And when I look back on my life, it may not work out the way I want it to work out, but it worked out. And things we got here and there. And if it didn't work out, if it was a really difficult time, I learned something. And so just trust, for me, trust where God has you.
Mhm.
And don't worry, don't live for a month from now or 2 months from now or a month reverse. Live for each day. And that's something I would struggle with a lot.
Yeah, really
You know,
getting caught in the details and sweating the small stuff and
yeah, and just, it's very easy to get kind of, once I have this, then I'll be happy.
right.
Once I get to here, then I'll be happy. Once I sell 50 homes a year, then everything's going to be fine. The best part, I saw an interview with Tom Brady. He's won, what, 7 Super Bowls and
Mm,
has an incredible, on the surface, an incredible life, has lived an incredible life. And the best part is the journey.
mm,
And in getting to the top, the best part is the grind. And you don't think that when you're in it, but everybody that I know that's made it big, and I mean big, selling businesses for 100 million or whatever it's been, um, they miss that. They miss that. They miss those moments of
yeah,
growing. And it's easy to wish for the future and not live in the moment.
yeah, and it's really success is growth,
It is.
and
Yeah.
if you're not it's easy to say success is a dollar amount or a transaction count or a number in my bank account, but if you're not growing, you don't feel fulfilled,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And you grow through successes and failures.
Yeah.
And I love the quote, you either fail or learn. Or no, you succeed or what was it? Succeed or learn. I messed it up. But it is, but I would get too caught up and you miss moments in life,
Mm,
when you let the downturns or the stressful moments overbear you, you're missing it.
mhm.
And, I look at, my grandmother got remarried. My grandfather passed away. One of the most influential people in my life was my grandfather. And he died way too young. At 20, I was 21, he was 75. And she got remarried in her mid 80s to a man who was very, very successful, worldwide physician or engineer, medical engineer, and worked for Johns Hopkins on the East Coast. Very well decorated, had been all over the world, written numerous books, and was just very, very well known in that community. And when he was dying, I went to be with him here, and he was here in Kansas City, and he was in a nursing home. And Gretchen and I, my wife, went to be with him as he was literally on his deathbed.
Mm.
And we go in this room, and this guy had everything in the world. I mean, anything he'd lived a very incredible life. And I would go in the room, and he's probably maybe 48 hours away from passing. And we're in this room, and it's a concrete room, and there's a bed, and he's in a diaper, and he's laying there, and he was still coherent. None of his possessions were in there. There was nothing there. There was no family there.
Hmm.
It was my wife and I. And I looked at him, and I'll never forget it. And I walked out of that room, and I thought, here's a man that had everything that society or the world tells you we should have. And in the end, this is it.
Mm.
And I was kind of sad. He wasn't surrounded by his family, his kids, his nothing. It was me that barely knew the guy. I mean, I knew him, but not well, only for maybe 5 years. And that moment hit me,
Wow.
and it was very impactful. And it just, going back to what I was saying, you don't want to miss those moments, because in the end, the people around you and those moments are what matter, not the next transaction or whether or not, there's wood rot on a house. So, yeah.
And it's so easy to lose sight of that,
Yes.
as
Yeah.
competitive people, as entrepreneurs. It's like you're always looking for that next that next goalpost.
You are.
And I think we're even trained and taught like, hey, let's push it back. Let's 10x the goal. Let's move it backwards. And like you said, it goes back to in the end, what's really the most important thing?
It is. And back to that Tom Brady interview, the interviewer said, I think it may have been 60 Minutes or something on ESPN. I can't remember. The interviewer said at the time he was married to Giselle, you have 7 Super Bowl rings. You have whatever, 2 or 3 kids. You have more money than you'll ever spend or your kids will ever spend. You have a supermodel wife. And Tom interrupted him or right around that time and said, I still feel like there's something.
Wow.
And I just thought, this is a guy that everybody thinks has it all. And he still feels like there's something missing. And maybe he is missing it.
Hmm.
And what he's missing is right in front of him. To me, it's your faith.
Yeah.
And it's the people around you. And that's what it comes down to. I'm getting really deep here.
I love it.
Sorry.
Well, I know mindset, is a big part of you and what's important. Kind of unpack for us, Aaron, what that looks like daily. What do you do to keep yourself, mentally sharp? Right now it's a challenging time for a lot
It
of
is.
people.
Absolutely.
And I think it's easy to get stuck in the weeds of what's happening, what the news is saying, the government, all the things. How do you really overcome some of those things?
Well, number one, turn off the news.
Hmm.
Because I told my wife, we were talking about it, and I made a decision. I was not going to bury my head in the sand, but I was going to stop watching the news. If what you're watching or reading is not making you a better person, maybe you shouldn't be watching it.
Hmm.
Other than the occasional Dumb and Dumber movie or something like that. But that's truly it. Like you have right now, you can get caught up in all the noise and the headlines and it's a negative market and there's no showings and everything's doom and gloom. But okay, that's great. But that's what's going on over
Yeah.
here. And you have a decision. I think realtors right now have a decision.
Hmm.
They have a decision to make. Am I going to stay in this cloud of noise and hang there and maybe be out of business in a year? Or am I going to focus on what I can control? And that's really what it comes down to, is focusing on what you can control and ignoring the noise.
Mm.
Because I can't change what people are hearing on the news. I can't change that. I can't change that, it's taking longer for homes to sell and there's not as many buyers. I can't change that, but I can change what I do.
That's right.
And what I do starts really with framing your mind and listening to those positive things. And I've really tried to get into, to me, it's exercise. If I get really down, I go for a run. And it takes my mind off of it because I push myself when I'm running and I'm thinking about, oh man, I got this pain, but I got to get another mile. Instead of, the U.S. Secretary of Treasury said we're in a housing recession. I'm not thinking about that when I'm running,
Right.
And I'm not thinking about that when I'm listening to motivational podcasts. I'm not thinking about how bad it is. So you have to change your mind. I mentioned to you earlier the song from the 90s band, Sister Hazel.
Yeah.
The hit I've been listening to 90s music lately. I think it's because I'm 50 and I'm going back to my youth. But yeah, I heard that song. It just came up one day and I heard it and I listened to the lyrics. I was like, holy cow, these guys, Sister Hazel, who knew? They actually like had a meaningful song. And it talked about changing your mind. If you're tired of having battles with yourself, and if you're you're trying to be somebody else, change your mind. That's what the song says. And you have to work at it. Like
Right.
it doesn't just, okay, everything's gonna be great. You have to work at it. I'd say I'm naturally an optimistic person, but certainly I don't know if my wife would tell you that because behind the scenes,
Yeah.
she hears all the negative. But you really have to be intentional. And to me, it starts with getting rid of the negative stuff.
Mm.
And it's okay for our team to vent and talk about how negative it is, but let's not stay there.
Right.
What's next?
What's that action? What's
Yeah.
that plan? Like you
Yeah.
said.
I know. It's not everything's bad and then we stop.
Yeah.
No, because then we're going to fail. So everything's bad. What do we do about it? And that's what we have to focus on.
What are you telling your team right now? Obviously, we got to focus on what we can control and the positives. What do you think are a couple of the most important things that agents need to focus on right now?
So there's a lot of uncertainty right now in the minds of agents, in our team, in myself. There's uncertainty. When there's uncertainty, you control the variables you can control. And the variables we can control are to continue to love on people, to be empathetic with our sellers whose homes aren't selling, to do our job, to do the things that we can do. Okay, so if only 50% of our listings, I don't, this isn't the number, but let's just say only 50% of our listings are selling right now. We have a number to hit, so maybe we need to get 50% more listings.
Yeah.
And so how do we get that? And because somebody's going to.
Absolutely.
I think 8,000 homes on the market right now in the MLS, 7,900, and there's 6,000 pendings and 5,000 have sold in the last 60 days. Somebody's getting those.
Yeah. Clearly there's buyers and sellers.
There's people there.
Yeah.
So we just gotta figure out how to get there. And really what we talked about with my team this morning, two things that my word for next year is fun. I want it to be fun again. I don't want to be in a bad place. We need to have fun again, because that translates to our clients too. If they see, like, we used to do these goofy videos, and our clients would say to us, like, you guys seem like you're having so much fun.
Mm.
And that's what we want them to see, you know? And so I want it to be fun again, and back to the basics. It's not a hard business. It's not an easy business, but it's doable for people that want to do the work.
And when you focus on those right things, like getting back to the basics, focusing on what you can control, keeping your mind right, you're inevitably you're going to stumble your way into success.
You are. You are. It will happen. And I'm not naive to think that, the next 4 months could be a little tight. I'm certainly not putting my head in the sand, but again, there is no plan B for me. This is it. And this is where we're headed, and we're going to make it work. And yeah, so, that's what we need to be focused on. And really, where I get energized is the planning piece.
Mm.
I love developing a plan. And when you feel stressed and for me, when I feel stressed and I feel like, oh gosh, how are things going to happen? If I sit down and write out my plan, I instantly feel better
Mm.
because I've got a roadmap. I'm not just sitting here thinking how bad things are. I've got a roadmap. Okay, this is what I got to do. It's okay. I do these things, we'll be fine.
And you've got that clarity, that focus of
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
and what you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It changes everything.
Yeah. And so our whole team is talking about it, and they're giving me a hard time because I did turn 50 this year. And so, I'm really I want to make the most of, I've become more aware of my limited time on this earth. And I want to make the most of it in every aspect, in my family, in my friends, in my spiritual growth, in my business, in my team, every aspect. And so they joke with me, like, we're going to come in and you're going to be on a yoga mat with incense going and Enya playing and all this stuff. But it's contagious, though. I think
Absolutely.
when all of us are starting to think that way, it's contagious. And I think good things can happen I think great things can happen when you have the train rolling that way.
Yeah.
Instead of the other path.
And you're creating that energy, and your team is
Yeah.
reacting to it, and they're starting to model some of those things too that you're putting in place.
And we lift each other up. I mean, there's days where they lift me up just as much as the other way around. So it's a good support. I mean, Mike will come to me, and if I'm having a bad day, he's like, Aaron, you could be on a plane flying to Atlanta right now.
It's true.
Like, that's a good point.
You could be behind a desk, or there's a lot of things we could be doing.
Yeah. So we're very fortunate to have the opportunity we have in this business. We really are.
You're absolutely.
It's tough. We complain, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're very blessed.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to do this, where I was talking about vacuuming, we've got a vacant listing right now. I've probably vacuumed that house 100 times over the last 5-6 months. And Mike said, we were talking about this morning, he was like, so you vacuumed a house? Like, big deal, man. You could be getting kicked out of an OR or a hospital, or, being at a board meeting or something. You're vacuuming a house.
Exactly.
Big deal, So anyway.
Yeah, it definitely could be a lot worse. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I want to jump into some rapid fire stuff with you.
Okay.
For you, Aaron, what what does balance look like for you compared to your earlier career?
Balance to me is spending quality time with the people that matter most in my life,
I love it.
because those are the people that are going to be with me till the end, I
Mm,
hope, and beyond. And so the balance is really those relationships,
'kay.
and making that a priority, and scheduling the trips that maybe it's the bad time to go on this trip, but we're going. And, you know, going up to Kansas State to every football game and spending time with my family there. And, my son does broadcasting for K-State football. And so listening to making time with my family to sit down and listen to him on the radio when there's an away game or whatever it is. And so those are the priority.
Yeah,
The business is too, but those are the priority.
for sure.
Yeah.
So favorite book or podcast that you love to listen to?
I'm listening to the audio on Spotify of an old book, How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yes,
Dale Carnegie.
Daniel Carnegie.
Yeah. And again, back to the basics.
Mhm.
Like it's that book was written, what, 50 years and longer, probably 60 years ago. I don't even know. Long time ago. But it's so valid. And there's so many great points. And I'm making my son go through it with me, who's a junior, my middle child, who's a junior, go through it with me.
Nice.
And we talk about it every Sunday night. And so there's just a lot of great life lessons in that book.
It really is. How to win friends and influence people.
Yeah. So that's the one.
Timeless.
That's the one that's in my ear right now.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned running and podcasts. What are some other your habits that you feel like contribute to your daily success?
I do make the time for there are two things other than my family that are my two. I don't know. I'd say feel most connected to God when I'm doing these things. Kind of weird to say that, but I have to make time for them, and I do them every year. When I'm on a slalom water ski
Mm,
going across glass at 6:15 a.m. in the morning, there's no better feeling in the world. I've been skiing since I was 4 years old, and I love it. I love it. That's the first thing, and so I make sure we have a place at the lake, and I make sure I do that as much as I can, because that is there's no better way to start a day than that. So that's the first thing, and the second is when I'm on a snowboard and fresh powder in the mountains. There's no better feeling in the world, and those two things, I make sure I take the time to do those two things, because that's what I really love outside of family and being with my family and all that. So in the summer when I'm stressed, we'll go down to the lake. My wife will yank me around the lake in the morning, and it just energizes me.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard a leader last week talk about he called it finding your sunshine.
Yeah.
And whatever your sunshine is, that thing that fills you up, it gives you energy. And it sounds like for you, skiing on water or powder are
Those are the two things.
your two things.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
That.
And I hope, my kids make fun of me because they're like, "Dad, you're looking a little older out there, a little more shaky." I'm like, "Hey, as long as I can walk, I'm gonna be doing these two things," And so I go snowboard with my son, and, some of the young kids are on the gondola are like, "You're how old?" And I'm like, "I'm doing this till I'm 75, Why stop?"
Exactly. If
So,
I can do it.
yeah,
What's something, Aaron, that your clients might be surprised to know about you?
that I'm an ordained minister.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I was, officiating my nephew's wedding a year and a half ago. And, not that I lead a life that they would question, that, "Oh, I can't believe that guy." Not that I lead that type of life, but, not too many people know that I've done that, and then I got ordained, and that was a really cool experience. If you ever get asked to officiate a wedding, say yes. It's such a cool
Absolutely.
experience.
That's a great one. I did not know that about you.
Yeah, and, it was really ironic, just real quick. So, the way this all came about, I had no idea it was coming. Sometimes you have to ask. You have to ask for things that you want in life, and sometimes you don't even know what that is. And sometimes it will just ask God, use me. God, use me. However you want. I'm struggling right now. Just use me however you want. And I I go to my grandfather's grave when I need I go there and talk to him. It sounds weird, but he was a special man to me. And so I was at his grave this Sunday afternoon, and I just sat there, and that was the only thing I could think of is just, God, however you want to, it was a beautiful day like today, however you want to use me, use me. And I left there, drove to Lake of the Ozarks, met with my sister, and my nephew and his fiance at that time. And we went to dinner that night, literally 4 hours later. And we're sitting at dinner right before, our meal comes, we're talking and excuse me, my nephew goes, "Hey, we have a question we want to ask you about our wedding." And I thought, oh, maybe they want me to, help out some way. And he's like, "Would you officiate our wedding?" And I was like, "You ask, it's you gotta accept what's coming your way,
right.
And so I thought about it for a little. I didn't feel worthy, but I thought about it and said, "Yeah, absolutely, I will." So
What
really
an
cool.
incredible experience it sounds like for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it was awesome.
Couple last things, Aaron. Looking ahead, what is next for the Donner Group? Any exciting goals, projects, things that you guys are working on for 2026?
We do have some different things we're working on. We are going to grow. Our plan is to grow. We will likely add 1 to 2 agents next year, and we're going back to the basics. I mean, we're going back to loving our COI, loving our database, really caring for people and authentically.
Yeah.
Not making the call so you can check the box that I made the call today. Like authentically caring about people. Authenticity. And I mean, we come into these people's world for a short time, but you're with them intimately for it feels like a long time, and then it goes away. But we get to know these people really well, and I really want to focus so much more on our database and being genuine and being there for we've been at funerals and life changes and weddings and all that, and that's one of the things we really need to get back to that. The second is we have an agent referral program we're rolling out that, there's a lot of people in the business that are retiring or walking out of the business. And why throw away your license when you can
That's right.
make passive income?
Yeah.
And so we've got systems in place where we can really help people that are thinking about going into the referral database or where we will co-market to their database with them and really try to help them make passive income, which in turn helps us out.
Well, I love those ideas and just growing your team, continuing to love on your COI, and then building that agent referral business so you guys can help maximize even passive income for agents that are getting out of the business.
Yeah, because so many people are in the business for 30 years and then they just walk away
Yeah.
and they let their license go. And I mean, business is so different than many others, like insurance, where you can sell it and you sell your book of business. For those people that are thinking about retiring, don't get rid of your license.
Absolutely.
Let us help market to your folks and make 20 or 30 grand doing nothing really,
Yeah.
other than keeping your license out.
I love that.
So.
Well, Aaron, if people want to find you, reach out to you about joining your team, selling property, any of the above, where can they find you?
Well, our website's thedonnergroup.com.
Donnergroup.com.
Yep, and my cell phone's on there. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm always happy to help anybody. Sit down for coffee with anybody. I did that when I first started. Reached out to a lot of different agents, so I'm always willing to talk to new agents or any agents. Facebook, the Donner Group is our handle there on Facebook. The same with Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Aaron Donner.
Aaron Donner. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, any final pieces of advice for anybody out there, whether personal, business, any closing thoughts you want to lead out to there?
Don't give up. It's a challenging time right now, but don't give up. If you give up, you don't fail until you give up.
I love that.
And so don't give up. Do your job and stay in the game. There's plenty of business for all of us.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah. Thank you, Genevra.
Well, I appreciate your time today. And thanks again for everything you've poured in. I feel like my soul is full from just having a conversation with you. And I love your mindset. I love your positive energy and who you really are. So thanks for sharing that with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. You do a great job in this office. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right. Thank you.